Wow. Hey, pura vida. Much love and respect. Thanks for tuning in once again. I really appreciate that. Quick video here. I'm gonna let you know what Napoleon Bonaparte was really described like more often than not. And as you're gonna see, is a dark complexioned man. Says here, JSTOR Daily, constructing the white race, how race is historically and culturally defined. Just real quick, just to get it going, it says here in 1751, Benjamin Franklin classified the world's population by color. There were black, tawny, swarthy, and white complexioned peoples on the globe. Some will be surprised to discover that Franklin listed the French, we're going to be talking about, right? French, Napoleon, Germans, Russians, and Swedes among the swarthy, among the dark complexioned people. Or you think swarthy just means black hair or just a little tan? Well, I'm going to show you and remind you again. It literally also meant so-called Negro people, so-called black people. The only whites to his mind were the English and the Saxons. All right, they're talking about this book right here, which was written in 1750. It's called Observations Concerning the Increase of Mankind, Peopling of Countries, etc. by Benjamin Franklin, again, 1755. This is where he's telling everybody that the number of purely white people in the world is proportionally very small. All Africa is black or tawny. Asia chiefly tawny, right? Tawny, black or tawny, dark complexion, right? America, exclusive of the newcomers, wholly so. Wholly what? Black or tawny. America as well. And in Europe, the Spaniards, Italians, French, Russians, and Swedes are generally of what we call a swarthy complexion, as are the Germans also. And he's saying only the Saxons and English make up the white people. But he's letting you know here, some drop. All right, again, we're going French, huh? Swarthy complexion. You think that just means dark-haired? We're in the American Dictionary of the English language, intended to exhibit the origin and affinities and primary signification of English words as far as they have been ascertained. 2. The joint orthography and pronunciation of words according to general usage, and so on and so on. This is by Noah Webster. This is 1828 Webster's Dictionary. And we go all the way to SWA. And we go here, it says swart, right? Or Schwartz, being of a dark hue, moderately black, tawny. They said Africa was tawny, Benjamin Franklin, so tawny is still dark complexion. Swart, to make tawny. Swarth, an apparition. Swarth. Swartly, duskly, with a tawny hue. Swarthiness, tawniness, a dusky or dark complexion. We're not just talking about hair. Dark complexion, swarthy, being of a dark hue or a dusky complexion. Tawny. In warm climates, the complexion of man is usually swarthy or black. Swarthy or black. Okay, black, so-called black, right? Black American, swarthy American, it's the same thing. The Moors, Spaniards, and Italians are more swarthy than the French, Germans, and English. Okay, all these people melanated, just like Benjamin Franklin is saying. Their swarthy hosts would darken all our plains. It says here, black as the swarthy African. Swarthy, okay? Definition number 2 of swarthy is black, just like the swarthy African. So we're not just talking about hair and tans here, okay? Is it clear? Do you see? Stop practicing cognitive dissonance. Swarthiness, a tawny color. Swartish, somewhat dark or tawny. He's a little swartish. Swarthy, tawny, swarf. All right, so you guys get it? Swarthy, black as the swarthy African, just like the swarthy African. All right, so-called Negro. Hope it's clear. So we go to the book Napoleon and the End of the French Revolution by Charles F. Warwick, author of Mirabeau and the French Revolution Danton, and the French Revolution, Robespierre, and the French Revolution. This book is from 1910, and we go to page 29 of this book. Down at the bottom paragraph, it's letting us know that at this period of his life, Napoleon was described as dark, swarthy in feature. Okay, dark, swarthy Napoleon in feature, short in stature, poor physique, head large, full and intellectual. He wore immense dog ears, as they were called, a style of wearing the hair then in vogue. His long, lank locks, all right, his long locks fell over his ears and the size of his face, and almost, if not quite, reached his shoulders. He was exceedingly thin, and his legs did not fill out the tops of his military boots. He presented rather a ridiculous appearance until the gaze of the beholder met the searching and thoughtful expression of his deep-set eyes. Okay, again, he is described in this period as dark, swarthy in feature. Okay, so-called black. Okay, now I'm going to go to this book. It's called Napoleon by F.M. Kershason, translated by Henry St. Lawrence. This was first published in 1932, reprinted in 1972. Says here, Chapter 6, Between Two Wars. Before Bonaparte left Italy, the Directory had appointed him to command the Army of England and to conduct a mission which was to settle affairs with Germany at Rastatt. On November 17th, he set out with a few faithful followers, traveling by Turin, Mont Cenis, Chambéry, Geneva, Lausanne, Bernay, Basel, and Freiburg and Brisgau. On his way to Rastatt, he was received with special honors at almost every halt. During his passage through Swiss territory, he was accompanied by General Wurtemberger and General von Grafenreit von Gersinsky. The son of the first-named general was also in attendance and has left a not uninteresting description. Okay, here's his description, guys. This is a primary source. Bonaparte was rather slight and emaciated looking. His face, too, was very thin, with a dark complexion. His face, dark complexion, so-called black. His profile was very prominent. His looks and expressions were earnest and powerful. His black, unpowdered hair hung down evenly over both shoulders in wide, lengthy tresses, oreilles de chien, as one says, and was gathered into a rather flattened pigtail, reaching to the middle of his narrow back. He wore a blue overcoat with, if I remember rightly, an embroidered collar. Okay, guys, this is a primary source. This is General Wurtemberger describing Bonaparte, Napoleon Bonaparte. Again, dark complexion. All right, so shout out to Jose S. For the link. For the next source, I'm going to, guys, show you an image, a drawing of Napoleon Bonaparte. So shout out to this brother for passing me the link over in Telegram. All right, much love and respect. So we're at npg.org.uk. It says here, National Portrait Gallery, Napoleon Bonaparte. It says here, National Portrait Gallery, Napoleon Bonaparte. All right, so real quick from far away, so you guys can see. All right, and then we're gonna close up. All right, so they're saying he was very dark complexion, had kind of light eyes, like hazel gray eyes, as they're drawing him here. I've noticed that there's a lot of drawings of the so-called Black Napoleon, which is, they're saying, Toussaint L'Ouverture, but a lot of the drawings look just like this guy right here. So I think a lot of the time is actually Napoleon they're actually talking about. They're trying to say it's somebody else. But either way, I want to show you, in the bottom, it does even say Napoleon, first emperor of France, and something's right here. All right, again, Napoleon, swarthy, with a dark complexion being drawn here, matching the descriptions, right, we just read. As you guys can see, Napoleon Bonaparte. Now you guys can see where I got the cover from. This is him right here, Napoleon Bonaparte, swarthy, so swarthy. And we continue. I got more, guys. It says here, Napoleon and the Invasion of England, the story of the Great Terror by H.F.B. Wheeler, A.M. Broadley, with numerous illustrations from the contemporary prints, caricatures, etc., 8 in color, 2 volumes, right? So we're in volume 2 right here, page about 390. All right, it says here 20,000 pounds reward for who? For Napoleon, of course. Whereas a certain ill-disposed vagrant and common disturber, commonly called or known by the name of Napoleon Bonaparte, alias Jaffa Bonaparte. All right, he got mad names I'm gonna show you guys. But the point is here, you know, he's invading England, so they don't like him. So they're talking bad about him here. There's even a reward for his capture here. So they're saying, if you bring us the body of the said Napoleon Bonaparte, before the morrow of all souls, that he may be forthwith sent to our jail for wild beasts situate standing and being over Exeter Change in the Strand without bail or main price, and that he be there placed in a certain iron cage with the orangutan or some other ferocious and voracious animal like himself for the purpose of being tamed, or until a warrant shall issue to our beloved subject Jack Ketch to deal with him according to law in the virtue of his office, and this is no wise omit at your peril. Witness our hands, John Doe and Richard Rowe. So that's crazy, right? They really want him. They're even gonna throw him in a cage with a wild animal. But guys, look how they're gonna describe him here. It says again, the said Napoleon Bonaparte, alias Jaffa Bonaparte, alias Opium Bonaparte, alias Whitworth Bonaparte, alias Acre Bonaparte, is a Corsican, all right? He's really from Corsica, the Corse Island. By birth, about 5 feet 4 inches in height, of a swarthy black complexion, okay? Not swarthy white, not swarthy pale, swarthy black complexion. They're letting you know, very dark complexion, dark hair and eyebrows, and resembles a great deal in person a beer leader, or one of the Savoyards who play on the reeds of Vex Hall. He is remarkable for walking fast and taking long strides, and has been taught to squint, though it is in fact no more than a cast in the left eye, with looking too much on one object, Old England, to which over application he also owes being afflicted with a jaundice. The above reward will be paid by the county immediately on apprehension. Okay? This is a reward, a wanted ad for Napoleon, the swarthy, black complexion Corsican / French. All right, you guys see? Primary sources again. Primary sources letting you know, swarthy black. We continue. This is another book. It says here, in the service of the Tsar against Napoleon, the memoirs of Denis Davidov from 1806 to 1814. Okay, again, written by Denis Davidov, another primary source. He actually met Napoleon. So a little ahead in the book, it says, I have already remarked on how much I was struck by the overall resemblance of Napoleon to the prints on sale everywhere. But the same was not true of his facial features. None of the portraits that I had seen bore the least resemblance to him. But leaving them, I had supposed that Napoleon sported a rather large hooked nose, dark eyes, and dark hair. In a word, the true Italian facial type. All right, so that was deep what he just said. He said none of the portraits that he's seen, all these drawings and paintings, it don't look nothing like him. In fact, his face was slightly swarthy, so-called black, with regular features. His nose was not very large, but straight with very slight, hardly noticeable bent. The hair on his head was not black, but dark, reddish blonde, dark, still dark. His eyebrows and eyelashes were much darker than the color of his hair, and his blue eyes, set up by the almost black lashes, gave him a most pleasing expression. Finally, no matter how many times I had occasion to see him, I never noticed those frowning eyebrows with which the portrait pamphleteers endowed him. Okay, so the way they were describing him and drawing him is not what he looked like in person. This person that actually met him, he's letting you know. Again, slightly swarthy. And I go to another book here. It says here, The Story of Napoleon by Harold Wheeler. A little ahead in the book, it says here, about 12 o'clock, Bonaparte came down the great stair of the Tuileries, and one of our party, who happened to be right opposite the porch, told us that he mounted his horse from wooden steps. He then rode forward, accompanied by about 15 or 20 generals and a Mameluke from Egypt. All his suite were dressed and powdered in the most showy manner, but Bonaparte himself wore a plain green coat with a narrow white cloth edging at the seams, such as servants in this country sometimes wear, and a cocked hat without any lace. His hair is very black and is cropped very close to his head and neck, so that his ears are all bare. It falls down over his brow. His complexion is swarthy, okay? His complexion is dark, dark. He is black, so-called black. His face long and fine nose. His eyes are very dark, and his eyebrows fall or are drawn down much over his eyes. His cheekbones are high, and his cheeks sink between the bones of the face and those of the chin, which gives him a wasted, consumptive look. His upper lip projects in the middle of the mouth considerably over the under one, and his chin is sharp and prominent. He does not seem to be above 5'6" and is very thin. He is 33 years of age. To me, he appeared to have the look of anxiety, or rather of terror. He was mounted on a beautiful Arabian gray horse, one of the most perfect animals I ever saw. Okay, again, another primary source letting you know that Bonaparte, again, is Swarthy. Okay? And believe it or not, guys, we're not done. I got another source here. It says Memoirs of Napoleon Bonaparte by Louis Antoine Fauvelet de Bourrienne, his private secretary, okay? Another primary source. So they rewrote this in 1906. This is volume 1. So around 1783, it says here, page 7, Bonaparte at Brienne. When at Brienne, Bonaparte was remarkable for the dark color of his complexion, which subsequently the climate of France somewhat changed. All right, he started getting a little lighter when he went to France. Remember, he's from Corsica island in the Mediterranean. For his piercing and scrutinizing glance, and for the style of his conversation, both with his masters and comrades. His conversation almost always bore the appearance of ill humor, and he was certainly not very amiable. This I attribute to the misfortunes his family had sustained and the impressions made on his mind by the conquest of his country. Again, Bonaparte was so remarkable for the dark color of his complexion. Dark color. So again, Napoleon Bonaparte actually was born in Corsica, the island in the Mediterranean, as you guys can see right here. So it's right next to Italy and right under France over here, but more actually under Italy. And this is Corse Island or Corsica. All right, so these are the original Corsica emblems. All right, that's what you see on the flag. Again, the flag of Corsica. And they'll tell you it's because they conquered the Moors. No, they never got conquered. The emblem of Corse, as you guys can see, Corsica. And Sardinia, so the same thing. This is Sardinia, okay. This Kingdom of Corsica. This is from Wappen Wiki, coat of arms. The Kingdom of Corsica, ruling houses, right? House of Neuhoff, Theodore I of Corsica, and then House of Hanover, says George III of Great Britain. They were probably allies or family, ruling houses, all right? Corsica, as you guys can see, that's where Napoleon Bonaparte was born. So, as you guys see, you might find one source describing him as light or fair, you know, or pale maybe, but you gotta understand, I just showed you many other sources. I showed you a drawing, and you also got to be logical. He's coming from this place. Who are the French? Remember what Benjamin Franklin is saying? He's letting you know these are all swarthy people. Break the spell. He's been whitewashed. Napoleon has been whitewashed, just like many other historical personages. The info is here. You can practice cognitive dissonance if you like, but the jig is up. Hope you guys enjoyed the little presentation here on Napoleon Bonaparte, true physical appearance. Thanks for tuning in once again. Pura vida, mi gente. Hawa.